produced it.
That's
Dude,
right.
that's like the best thing you can ever do if you're stuck. Go down the rabbit hole of looking for weird, interesting music and finding something that sparks something, you know? You'll hear something in it, maybe like a certain sound or maybe a chord change that you're like, whoa, that was actually really interesting and cool. And then bring it into your own music, you know? That's kind of what it's all about. Honestly, most of it is just like YouTube. Like even this morning, I was like watching a bunch of like Frank Zappa.
What has been your approach to remixes over the years? Like, where do you start?
Yeah, it usually just starts with like chords, just playing some chords over top. And we generally have some kind of concept too of where we would want to take it. Is it a full-on dance thing? Is it a super nerdy, like funky, glitchy, weird track? Like let's try to beat the original production.
Right.
And then if the original production was already really fucking good, then we're like, okay, well, let's take it in a completely different direction. Yeah. But a lot of times it would be like, well, this is how we would want this record to sound. Stuff.
Self-taught with all these chords. I see that question pop up a lot. Like, how do you get these chords? And we're talking about the gospel videos, which is something that we've discussed.
Yeah. There's like 3 moves and like gospel stuff that you can actually use on like pop records, you know? Dude, people can't write songs to like fat 10-note voicing chords. Like
Right. There's no space for it in the mix either.
Oh, what are you going to sing in there? There's nothing left. It's all taken up, you know? So that's kind of what I'm learning now is it's like, you know what? It's okay to be a bit more simple with the chords because people can actually write a song to it. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this, but to have kind of like an end game, the most outrageous dream of where you think your life could end up. And then have these really small things that you can do on like a day-to-day basis. They should be things that you feel like you can accomplish, you know? The more you think about it, the more you kind of like it becomes real, you know, and it becomes attainable, you know?
How do you balance results oriented versus process oriented?
There's a balance there, you know? Sometimes I'm very like, okay, I want results from this. And other times I'm like, I want no results. I just want to like fuck around. And sometimes you don't need some crazy project that you're working on or whatever. Like right now I'm just kind of, I'm doing things here and there, but I'm also just like having fun, kind of experimenting and trying to learn new stuff. And that's important too, you know? But yeah, I think having an end goal, like something to shoot for is super important, man. Also, the thing about music is there's just so many other variables to music. It's this thing that you're trying to control and harness and like grab, but it's not that. It's like magical. It's music's magic, and you can't really like grab it or put it in a jar and try to hold on to it. It's not like any other job. It's like a skill-based job where you can put in fucking hundreds of hours and get so good at. There's still this other variable that's sometimes unattainable, especially if you're flukingly make a huge hit song. Like there's something magical there.
I know for me, I need to walk away for a day or two, then I'll come back and just get the fresh ears on it. Like, just
yeah,
make
that's a really
checklist.
smart way to approach it, because you can easily get fatigued. Even just your ears, you can just lose the plot entirely. So that's a natural and good thing to do, is like maybe go hard on something for a day and then just let it sit for a while. Don't work on it the next day. Do something else. Work on this other thing that you started, or come back to it. Your ears, you're just immediately going to pick up what's needs to happen. You're further away from it, so you kind of become the listener rather than the creator, because there is always that thing where it's hard to detach yourself from your own creation and actually be a listener. And that's another thing you try to chase, right? And that happens when you make something and put it away and forget about it for a while, and then you come back and you're like, this is actually really fucking good, or this sucks and I don't like it. I recommend that to any producers that are watching right now, is just always bounce your stuff out. Even if you spent 5 minutes on something and put it away, throw it in a folder, and then like one day you're going to be going through and you'll be like, oh, what is that? Like, I don't even remember making that, but it's kind of interesting. Maybe I can develop that. Like that kind of sounds like an Oliver thing. I'm like, cool.
True.
That's great. You want that, you know? You want someone to hear your track and be like, that sounds like them.
Up and coming producers will be like, how do you write a bunch of originals or like have a cohesive body of work? I just made a lot of bad music, and unfortunately some of it came out.
Yeah, man, that's just part of it. It's a little bit of both. You have to make sure it's worth releasing. It should at least sound good, mix wise and stuff, so it's not like just garbage on your speakers. But I mean, that's just part of it, man. You got to like put yourself out there, man. A lot of the stuff that people like that I did, like I was completely unsure if it was good or not. You got to put yourself out there.